We do more in real life events than any other community in crypto. And I can say that confidently. We will continue to do that, especially post price appreciation. We're going to have a lot of really cool stuff like yachts in Monaco and other fun things for people to do. Cryptoniums9 says, hey, Jake, the JPY 10-year is at 2.32. How much longer is Japan going to hold out? They're driving me crazy. People smarter than me are saying that around 2.4, 2.5, that's when things are going to get a little crazy. And I think we could, to your point, might even be able to see that toward the end of this week when the Bank of Japan does raise interest rates. So, wild times we're living in. There will be a rotation that is going to play out. We are going to see all the things that I've talked about for almost 2 years now. March this year will be 2 years when I put out the first domino theory video. If you haven't watched that, I would encourage you to go check it out. Talks about how everything leads to price appreciation for XRP with global macroeconomic events, all set up like dominoes. And the first one of those, in my opinion, is a spike in oil, a geopolitical conflict that causes a spike in oil that pushes to, Japan having to raise interest rates aggressively. And then the dominoes fall, markets fall, problems happen, liquidity crisis. Problem, reaction, solution. We need XRP, and off to the moon we go. It is a 3-part series if you want to go watch all 3 videos over there on YouTube. I'm not as animated in the early ones. I've tried to get a little bit better and more fun to watch on camera, and interact with you guys. The first one I'm very monotone and serious. So if you could bear it, grit and bear it, I do appreciate it. Rick Johnson, my man, he says, Mr. Beefcake, what's up, my dude? Please tell us what exactly it will take to see the US dollar crumble to being worthless at TP for Beavis Beavis and Butthead for reference there. Conditions and time frame from start to finish, please articulate. I would, all right, well, so start would have been 1944 when U.S. dollar became a global reserve currency instead of the Bancor coin at Bretton Woods. And obviously it was backed by gold at that point, and was, slowly devalued over time as we continued to protect our empire and, use military force to affect that. Until 1971, when we were in Vietnam and other countries were starting to realize what was going on, and they started to sell their dollars for gold, redeem gold from the U.S. Treasury, from the Fed. And they then decided, we were going to close the gold window August 15th, 1971. Nixon closed the gold window and effectively moved the world to floating exchange rates. Since then, we've continued to see, the inflation rate of the dollar escalate over time. But that's where it really kind of started to accelerate. The devaluation of the dollar was after 1971. If you listen to Ray Dalio talk about that, he was involved very young at the time in markets, and got to see the stock market rise when that happened. And it gave him a lot of insight because he thought it would fall. You can also listen to Robert Kiyosaki. His rich dad told him, when that happened, that gold was going to be the thing to own. And sure enough, here we are in 2026. As the currency continues to collapse, gold is having a meteoric rise here to the highest it's ever been in history. We are coming to the end of this. There is going to come a point in the near future this year where they try to shore up the U.S. dollar, and I think they'll be able to. We have enough gold here in the U.S. to be able to back the treasuries. They're going to issue 50-year bonds, which I think will kick the can for a long time, and likely shore up the U.S. dollar. And it'll maintain some of its power, but we are going to move to a global world, a global economy where everybody participates on their own efforts. There's multiple sovereign currencies that people want to be holding. Family offices already know this. They hold their wealth across multiple currencies in order to be able to hedge inflation across different economies. And, I think that more people will be willing to do that, especially with stable coins. It'll be very easy to be able to transfer, your wealth in between different currencies and different providers, depending on who you trust and what the best incentives are. So all that being said, I don't think the US dollar is going anywhere anytime soon. I know a lot of people are telling you otherwise. I do think there's enough demand for US Treasuries because of the Genius Act that the bonds will be stabilized. And the bond market is the backbone for the financial system until XRP really is implemented as the backbone on everything. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. I know a lot of people, again, are fear mongering and telling you should sell every single dollar and, get into gold and silver because they're going to continue to rise. Look, I'll say this too. I have biases. We have companies. We provide services and products. I come on here and talk about them. I come on here and talk about them because I'm excited about them and I use them. And there are other people that promote certain things that also are excited about them and use them. But just know, like, people have incentives, right? And I don't hide that here. We have businesses, we make money, we provide services, we try to help people and provide as much value as we can. Other people do that different ways. People that are an affiliate for a gold and silver seller probably talk about that a lot. That's not an affiliate that we have. Not that I don't think that they're good investments, and I obviously spend time and talk about them, and they've done exceptionally well here in 2020, late 2025, early 2026. But like I said, I think there's going to be a big pullback. So I sold all of my precious metals last year. And obviously, it's gone. Both of them have gone up. Silver more than gold. Silver has probably gone up 50% since I sold mine, and gold's up another 25% since I sold my gold. I rotated all that into XRP. But again, like, I'm okay with missing out on some of those gains. I think I'm going to make way more on the XRP, and that's why I made that rotation. I did well on the precious metals. I bought those back in 2020. So, if you've been holding it for a while, I'll say this same thing I do about crypto. You never go broke taking profits. So I don't know where you guys are at with precious metals. The brokers make money either way. JM Bullion and all the other ones out there. I saw a billboard for JM Bullion the other day, which is wild to me. I've never seen a billboard for JM Bullion. That just tells me how well they're doing. And like, obviously they want to get that out there and be able to continue to push the product because they're making a ton of money. Which again, happy for them. Think they're doing great. They provide, good service to people. I just, again, want to encourage people to look at things objectively. Same thing with crypto. You dollar cost average in, you probably want to dollar cost average out. And I think that, people taking profits, again, can't give you financial advice, over the last, 3-4 months here are probably going to do really well if they rotate those profits into other assets. All right, continuing to run through the super chats here. We've got another 45 minutes before we wrap it up tonight. We have another one. We got AA Jesse says, Sup, Jake. Hoping if you got my book, Find Your Freedom, A Case of Decentralized Currency, sent you a copy about a month ago. It was published today on Amazon. Maybe leave a review. Appreciate you, man. I bet I did. I have some books at the office that I haven't read yet, but now that you've reminded me, I will pick that up this week, and I will go leave you a review over there. If anybody else wants to go leave Jesse a review, I'm sure he would love that. Go check out his book over here on Amazon, Find Your Freedom, A Case of Decentralized Currency. Sounds like a really good read. And again, appreciate very much so that you sent me a copy. I don't know if it's signed or not. I'll have to go look. But, sounds like a good read, and I'll have to check it out and leave you a review. And again, if you guys want to go do that, I'm sure he would appreciate it as well. Rob, my man, he says, do you recommend buying Bank Social? Buying Bank Social. Do you think the price will go up? Bank Social has a token. John has a token. Sure does. BSL. I'll say this, so John and his group are in the same building as us. Great people. I think that I can tell you for sure that they have a lot of traction with a lot of credit unions. As far as their token goes, I don't know how that's being used in their ecosystem. I'll have to ask him. It looks like it's been around for a long time. I say a long time. 2022 is when it was launched. Bank Social, it's only a $5 million market cap. There's really not enough liquidity in this thing to do much right now. And I don't know that they've been able to generate enough demand for it. Circulating supply is about 15 billion, 14.99 billion. So I'm sure some have been burnt for transactions on the network. That's probably how that works. I'll ask John about it. Again, I'm not ever going to get on here and tell you guys I know about something if I don't. I could speculate on it based on the tokenomics, but until I understand how it's actually used and what's going to drive demand for it, it could go. I mean, I know that they are signing credit unions at a pretty rapid rate and implementing their technology and stuff, but their technology stack doesn't necessarily translate to adoption for the token. Maybe over the long term it will, but I'd have to better understand that in order to be able to, speculate on where the price could go. Michelle, excuse me. She says, I butchered that. I'm sorry, ma'am. She says, but with all the good news in UE and Japan, why would we need US for price appreciation? Appreciate you. I'm assuming she means the UAE. So you don't. That's my whole point with the Clarity Act. It doesn't need to be passed. I'll say this. I think that BlackRock and Ripple are much more tightly coupled than people realize. BlackRock was tapped and moved into the position that they are, in my opinion, to solve the debt crisis. 2008 and everything that happened, they were, moved in to be able to repackage that debt and sell it off over a longer duration and make sure that we didn't have an economic collapse. And they are kind of a proxy for the Fed or the government to be able to not necessarily manipulate. Support is probably a better word. Support the stock market and economy. They own, large percentages in multiple corporations. Vanguard, same way. It's not like BlackRock's the only one. It's just the one that's, most people look at. And again, I think have been